live. I am so excited. If traveling is one of your New Year's resolutions, well, then I'm very excited to introduce the adventure girl herself. Stephanie Michaels is with us with some great travel tips on 2020. But first, I'm very curious.
Yes.
I mean, you are coined America's tweetheart. You've built one of the most recognizable brands universally. What was the impetus for all of this, for being adventure girl?
Well, that's a really interesting question. My parents took me on a plane when I was 3 months old to introduce me to their family back east. And they said all the babies on the plane were crying and I was cooing and giggling. And the flight attendants were playing with me because I was like a happy baby. And they said they knew I would have some sort of career in the travel business because I love being on a plane so much. And I still do love being on a plane. I know people say, oh, it's so cramped, it's so uncomfortable. But it really, to me, it gets me to my place that I want to go. And it's like heaven for me just to be on a plane, and then also like to detach and to be disconnected from social media. I don't really want to be online when I'm up in the air. So yeah. No, I mean, I need a break. I need a break every now and then. So the plane is my break.
It's a really interesting concept, though, when we talked about this before the show. Being a wanderer at heart. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So I just have a theory that, when in the caveman days, when we all kind of began our journey on this planet, I feel like there were the ones that sat around the campfire, had the babies, just enjoyed that kind of life. And then there are the ones that were the hunters and the gatherers, and the ones that would go set up other villages or, war with other tribes or whatever it was. I think I'm that person. And, they say that in your DNA, you do have that sort of makeup. You're either kind of a stay home and kind of comfortable person that does that, or you're that kind of adventurer, that wanderer. I mean, they have theories about people who jump out of planes and who look for that,
the novelty
adrenaline, right?
Wow.
So I feel like there's also something in our DNA that keeps us going and wandering and pushing forward to look at new things and experience new things. So
I love this. So you had this sort of DNA, you're
think
born
so.
with it, and then at some point you made a decision to make it into a career. When was that decision?
Well, I was a journalist. I was in J school, and which is journalism school, for those who don't know that. And I just thought I wanted to be a war correspondent. I've always wanted to tell people stories, and it just didn't really kind of pan out for me to get jobs doing that. It was a very competitive world at that point. And the travel thing just kind of fell into my lap. And it was one of the first 1,500 commercial websites online. I was like kind of a tech nerd. People don't really know that side of me, but I absolutely love technology. So, when people wanted to go to prom, I wanted to go game with my friends, play Miss Pac-Man or whatever. So, it just kind of was this thing where I'm like, well, why don't I start a website, which is what they called it in those days, and the World Wide Web, and bring people with me on adventures. So it started as Travel Partners was my first website. And then when I was on one of my journeys, people go, oh, so you're an adventure girl. And I was like, that's a really good brand. That's like a great name for a brand. And so I started writing under that moniker and created adventuregirl.com. And it just kind of grew from there. And then there was this little thing called Twitter.
Oh, boy. Yes.
And that it revolutionized what I was trying to already do, because I was already reaching out through emails and through chat rooms, like, what is it that you want to see me do, or where do you want to go, or how can I help you plan your trip, or whatever it was. But Twitter was instantaneous. So it was, I totally got it, right?
And you had one of the most fastest growing Twitter accounts of all time.
Yeah.
Second to reach over 1 million followers, just behind Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's funny because I believe at the time it was JetBlue and me, and then Virgin America got on board. And so we were like really the first 3 travel brands that were there on Twitter. And so we kind of were recognized just for being first. And that's kind of a trick to the trade too, like just try and get there first.
Yeah.
Even though it's really difficult, but it kind of cemented my brand. And then, I just listened to my followers and listened to what they wanted me to do and where to go. And it just gave me that freedom that I'd always really wanted, like by talking to my people,
So who's curating your travel agenda? Your followers or you?
Right now, well, it's different because, as you grow and you change and you expand, like I can't be everywhere every time, any time of the day. So I actually have writers that write for me as well. And so what I did was I opened up the platform so that I would give people another means or another avenue for them to place their stories, because we know what's kind of going on in traditional media and what's happening with magazines. So I wanted to give people a platform and an opportunity to still keep traveling and still placing their stories. So they do that now with Adventure Girl. So it's not just me curating content. I've opened up the brand so that other people can do the same.
Incredible. So what else would you say, you sort of shared so many fantastic tips there just on how you built your brand in terms of, finding a great team, also getting in first, listening to your audience. Are there any other tips you'd offer folks that maybe want to build their brand, whether it's something in travel or something different?
Yeah, well, I think you need to know that not every day is going to be perfect and not every day is going to be wonderful, and that you're
But
going
it looks like it on Instagram.
This is true.
You just have to be authentic. I mean, I know you hear that all the time, being authentic, but really the whole point that a lot of talent has always searched for was to have an avenue or a place to express ourselves. So why kind of hide the bad with, you know what I mean? Like there are days that we all have like bad days, or if we don't get a job, or, we wake up on the wrong side of the bed. There's just things like that. So, I think it's about being authentic, and I think it's about being open and just taking the bad. Like, listen, I've had some really bad days where I've been on the floor crying and where I've wanted to quit Adventure Girl. It's like, oh, I didn't move forward today. I just, but you get off the floor, you slap your knee and you say, I'm just gonna, make this happen. Or you talk to a friend that says, you've come so far, don't give this up.
Go see someplace new.
Yeah, go say.
Soak in the jet fuel.
Absolutely, smell the jet fuel.
Yes.
And I suffer from depression like everybody else does, and I'll have those really bad days, and I go to NKLA, the animal shelter, that no-kill animal shelter, and I wander through the animals and I pet them, or I spend time in the cat room or whatever, and I feel like, God, these animals have been through so much, and if they can be so wonderful back to humans and give back, and selfishly I'm taking their love, then, and I have 5 animals at home of my own, but it's just like perspective. I feel like, sometimes brands need perspective, and so that's kind of how I kind of solve some of my bad days. I'll just go tuck in somewhere and go pet animals or go to the zoo or do something like that.
Has anything surprised you about this journey in business and life? Like anything you just didn't know was coming or didn't expect it to include?
Oh, wow, that's a really great question. I think you don't expect the highs that are so high, and that, you've worked so hard to get up to that high, and then the lows being so low. I feel like there are those days where it's really great, it's very, very smooth, but then there's those, those jerk outs and then the turbulence. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Every now and then. Yeah. It's a complicated
yeah. Then you experience the turbulence, and you're like, whoa, I didn't expect that. Like I always thought the ride was a little more like this.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Like takeoff.
Takeoff. Yeah, like taking off, and you do hit that cruising altitude. Oh God, we're gonna go here.
Yes. Good.
But at the same time, you don't expect all the bumps, and I feel like entrepreneurs go into the business thinking, oh, it's going to be all so great and glorified, but it's really not. I mean, it's work. You show up, and the other thing I think you really have to have, and a lot of people talk about this, is passion. I mean, you have to get up on those really crappy days and say, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this, because even though it's not gratifying or fulfilling, you just really need to do it, right? And then also you have your fans or your friends or the people, like, for example, here, you watch your show, there's a commitment to them as well, to make it work. So.
Well, I'm committed to you. Stay committed to us. We'll be back with more on Evertalk Live.
Okay.
Welcome back to Evertalk Live. We are here with Adventure Girl herself, Stephanie Michaels. She calls the world her home. So, Stephanie, I have got to know, what is next on your bucket list? Where are you going in 2020?
So, it looks like I'm going to be in Kentucky for some bourbon run.
That is not.
That is unexpected, is it?
I thought it was going to be something super exotic.
You're thinking Paris.
And then you said, yes, sorry.
My favorite city.
Kentucky.
No, I'm going to Kentucky, and then after that, I am going to do a little something. For my birthday every year, I go to Europe or do something cool.
Yeah.
And so in June, I'm going to Budapest and Bucharest, and there's a 7-hour drive. Instead of hopping on a plane, we're going to kind of down and go to Bosnia-Herzegovina and do some, hit some other countries to mark off my list.
You make a good point, though, about Kentucky as well. I mean, I think sometimes we think of travel and we think it has to be exotic, and we want it to be exotic, but maybe we can't afford it right then and there. We don't have the time. So what is it about Kentucky that you love? Are you into the Derby? Are you into other things?
The horse racing thing, I guess, a little bit. I'm being an animal person.
Exactly.
No, I love bourbon. So, I mean, hello, draws me right there.
Okay, so you're going for the bourbon.
Hello. Yes, yeah, bourbon. Also, my cousins are going, so it's kind of a family thing. So that's the first thing. And then, you know, I agree with you. I mean, there's times in LA when I'm home and I'm like, I just want to hop on that little red bus and go tour. I love people who come to visit me because I get to show them around. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot how cool this city is. You know, it's like, so there's just different things. I mean, I feel like, you know, people come from all over the world to go visit somewhere like Kentucky or Texas or California. Why not me? Like I'm, you know, even though I'm American, I can absolutely take in these 50 states, right?
Totally.
What have been some of your top destinations here in the U.S.?
Wow. Okay, so I really love Fredericksburg, Texas. Not a lot
Again,
of people know about
Yes, I know. Yes. He knows all the little gems.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's right outside of Austin, in between Austin and San Antonio, and it's their wine country.
Oh.
And a lot of Californians have moved there now that have kind of dabbled in the wine country and set up shop there, and they're producing some really great wines. There's a place called 4.0 Cellars, and you can go wine taste all the different wineries that are in the region, and they have these little things called Sunday homes, and they're almost like little guest houses. And they started way back in the teens when the farmers would come in to go to church and they would need a place to stay overnight. So there would be these little guest houses set up for them.
Wow.
So they're like, it's so romantic. I mean, the way they've set them up now, modernized them, they put fireplaces in it, and it's just wonderful. It's just a great, like, little go-to. I know.
Cool, yeah.
And then, you know, if you really want a bigger city, you can go to San Antonio for a couple days or Austin for a couple days and kind of flank it with, you know, Fredericksburg in the middle.
I have so many girlfriends who are raving about Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
I'm probably the last person to still not have been to Nashville. Do you
It's
think
so
that's going
fun.
to still be the trendy spot to go? In
Well,
2020?
Nash Vegas is what we
Nash
call it.
Vegas.
Yes, I have property there. So
Why Nash Vegas? Why is there...
because it's a party town
Yeah.
like now, and you know Whiskey Row, which is like their main downtown, which is it's only like 2 blocks or whatever.
Yeah.
Is like you know, it's the #1 bachelorette destination because they so we're not kind of used to driving around to states because it takes us so long to get somewhere.
Yeah, I know.
So we're like,
I don't have
no.
time for that.
But most people in the South and Midwest are drivers, and so they'll get in their car and they'll drive 6 hours.
God, my dad, he would just
Yeah.
get up
Right?
at 4 a.m. and drive there.
Right. So it's within 17, I believe, 17 states driving distance. So you've got people coming from all over the country that are coming in to celebrate their bachelorette party. So, you know, weekends kind of can get crazy, but, you know, there's some really cool spots like Franklin or Brentwood, Tennessee. I always tease my husband because I'm like, we've exchanged Brentwood, California for Brentwood, Tennessee, you know, it's like, but it's absolutely one of my favorite places to go.
Wow, love this. So if somebody wants to maybe like weave a little more travel and adventure into their life, what tips would you have for those people? Anything they should or could be doing, particularly?
Oh, wow.
day and age?
Yeah, you know, just save your money. You know, pick a spot. Don't wait. You know, don't waver and go, oh, I could go to Hawaii or I could go here, I could go there. Just pick one spot and then focus on that spot, and then get there, and then do whatever you want to do there, and then check that off your list. And then the next, don't try and do too much. You know, I have a bunch of European friends, and like they want to come visit California or they want to come visit Arizona, and they think that they could do like 10 states within, you know, a matter of a week. I'm like, no. Come and see one thing or 2 things first. And then, you know, let that be your entree. And I say that about Europe too, because a lot of people want to go to Europe from America and they want to, you know, pick up like 10 countries. And I'm like, no, like pick one, maybe 2.
And be
then
present
enjoy.
and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Taste
Don't run
it.
through it. You know, I mean, if you're on that kind of pace, you know, like some of these adventure companies or whatever, they'll try and do that. They'll try and fit in as much. But I feel like you lose so much because the place is about the locals.
Yeah.
It's not just about seeing things. You know, the people make the place. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel that way.
Totally, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, back down a little bit.
One of my kind of secret tricks is that when I go to a place, I love to read their local paper.
Oh.
I'm a sucker for a newspaper. I'm
me
very
too. I love
sentimental and
that.
nostalgic.
Wow, you've got an
Yeah.
old soul.
I
love
do.
this.
And over my coffee, I like to read the local paper because I want to see where the locals are going, the restaurants that are advertising there, what the people are selling, what's in their classifieds.
Yes.
It speaks so much about that place.
And I love going to a pharmacy. That's my favorite thing. Like if you want to go kind of, I know it's really
Pharmacy.
Really?
It's the pharmacy. I love going because I love seeing the different products that we can't get here. Sometimes they're better. And then you kind of see the locals there, and you can ask questions to them. Pharmacy is a little more intimate than like a grocery store. Some people like to go to the grocery store. to meet up with the locals.
See, I'd definitely be at the bookstore. Question
you're a
about it, 'cause there are
bookstore.
books that you can't get here in the
Really?
States.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So that's a really cool
Yeah.
thing to do too.
I
Yeah.
overlooked the pharmacy thing though. That's
The
Yeah,
pharmacies
that's a good one.
are awesome.
And the newspaper.
And the
now we know.
newspaper.
And the
Huge.
newspaper, yeah, that's great. I love that.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We are so excited to continue to follow your adventures. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow and learn more about you. And your
AdventureGirl.com. I'm always on Instagram, so Instagram/AdventureGirl. And just write me letters, email me.
send you DMs?
DM me.
There you
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
Well, adventure is on my list for 2020, so I will definitely.
Yeah,
be
we're gonna
following
be
that.
talking.
Okay,
Yeah.
exactly. We are Evertalk Live, coming to you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Of course, you can follow along on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all the things, and on Apple TV and Roku via the Evertalk app.
That's right. Send that Venture Girl DM, send us DMs. We love you guys tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day on purpose.
Happy Monday!
Monday. Thank you.